How's it going, folks? Welcome back to Arkham Reactor, and it's a really special one today. We have a very special guest, and you can see here it is Daniel de Jongh, and I
Hello.
hope I am pronouncing that properly, Daniel. Forgive me if I'm not.
Yes, you are. Actually, it's
Yes.
great.
At least
Yeah.
at least I pronounced your name right, and I didn't
Well,
get
the
the
funny
name of the
thing,
song right, but
I will try to on online because on my Instagram profile it's also Daniel de Jong because that's the way you actually pronounce it. Only the is like in Dutch is de, so a little bit less
yep.
with that H.
Now it makes
So
sense.
that's actually the right pronunciation. Young is Jong.
Young.
It's actually,
Ah.
yeah, it is actually the translation as well.
Just as a matter of interest, did you ever get confused with the footballer?
Which
There
one?
was a footballer, I believe, Daniel de Jong, or am I getting mixed up?
I don't think so.
I know
I
Frankie
know,
de Jong.
I know my football, but not.
That will come into it later on.
Okay, yeah.
We've got a few things lined up for you. That's
Oh yeah.
probably off the cuff from a standard one, because we just do things a little bit different.
Bring it on.
So, Big G.
Oh, yep. So the first thing that I want to ask anyway is, well, we kind of already discussed this. We got it from yourself just before we hit record, but where did the idea for Crown Compass start? Because obviously I'd said before, I was a big Textures fan just before, and I only just discovered you guys just before you split. So, yeah, how did the whole Crown Compass thing start?
Well, it already started a little bit at the end of Textures. Joe already had this idea because he didn't really want to stop. He said, like, I want to make music. At first, he wanted to do it with Bart, but because of some differences, which is sometimes possible, Bart didn't join in. At first, he did together with Yuma. Later on in the process, just the musical differences for that record or for the band were just a little bit too much. So Bart decided to just go his own way. So it was like Joe and Yuma, and Robin was also eventually invited. And later in the process, he also asked me if I could join. I was like, yeah, we didn't do things for a longer time, so I was like, yeah, okay. Haven't done like metal for a long time because I purposely just pushed it away a little bit. Like, okay, screaming and all, just push it aside, just focus on clean singing and those kind of stuff. Been doing metal for a long time, but that was like the thing. I was like, yeah, let's go. And so he just sent me some stuff, some songs he wrote, and yeah, to be honest, he wrote this album from start to finish, like with the music, the drums, the keys, all the choirs, the vocals, lines, the lyrics, everything from start to finish. He just wrote it.
You even come up with the melodies for the vocals as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like normally I'm very I'm really picky on lyrics and on vocal lines because I think it has to really like weld and just gel into the music, like right, or it has to stand out. He already wrote those lyrics and wrote those lines, and I was like, "Whoa!" Goes everywhere. And sometimes it was crazy, and it's like, "Wow, okay." And sometimes we made it a little bit more crazy on the record.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
Because that's what I was going to say as well. Because that's one of the things that really caught me about this album is it is very, very melodic, but it does have lots of twists and turns. You know, there's lots of bits that catch you by surprise, and to me, I don't know if you know, I honestly thought you came up with the melodies yourself as well, because I was going to say, because on this album, I thought I could hear sort of Mr. Bungle, Faith No More, Alice in
Yeah, well,
Chains
it's
sort of
big
influences.
influence.
Right, there was even a wee bit of Queen at one point. I thought I heard an influence, you know, in some of the vocal harmonies.
Well, like he already wrote those vocal lines as well from the Queenish kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that was all his idea, and we just made it grander and try to really sound like what he intended to do. So
Yeah. Because it is huge. I mean, it is huge.
Yeah.
Obviously, I got it wrong. I said the Ectasis was the opening track, but it was Send Your Words. But which is just gorgeous, and the fretless bass in that is just beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm a bass player, by the way, so that caught my ear. The fretless I love.
Yeah, Robin is a fantastic bass player.
It really is. The whole band. I mean, that's one thing that sticks out on the album is just the level that you guys are at. It's just I go for certain bands. The bands that I listen to, they're always technical, but it doesn't necessarily sound overly technical. But you can, if you listen closely, you can hear how competent the guys are. You know, and you guys are just maestros as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's one of the things as well in that first reaction is when you hear it, you're sitting there and you expect one thing, and 2 seconds, well, about 1/10 of a second later, it just switches and changes. And you're just like, especially with
the bleh caught me by surprise. That first bleh on Ectasis, I was like, ooh, that's new.
Yeah. Well, those are these like we want to implement some like melodic stuff, prog, but also some black metal kind of stuffish. So that's what we also tried out, because why not? We can.
we have a question on black metal later for you, because I heard some things.
Yeah. Levi likes his black metal as well.
Yeah, big Behemoth fan.
Yeah. Behemoth is very, very good.
I just heard some things. I'm just like, it's just right there. That's what I wanted, and I heard it. And I was like, excellent.
Yeah.
So
we don't try to like try to sound like any other band. It's just a feel like this is how we want to sound like. This is like this has to be like this, and this has to be like that. Of course, sometimes we try to catch some things like that band has that particular sound, but it's not like intentional. It's just like it's there, and we said, that sounds awesome. Maybe we could tweak it a little bit more that way or that way.
More of an homage to the bands rather than taken from them. That does come through. That does come through. You know, I mean, obviously, I said I could hear Mr. Bungle, Faith No More, Alice in Chains, but it's not like you guys are aiming for that. It's more of a device that you guys use to take it in a different direction. You know, the song goes in a different direction, and it works so well. It really does.
Like from those bands as well, like Faith No More for me, Mike Patton is like
Mike Patton. Yeah, I could hear Mike Patton definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big influence of mine. Really, I always mention that in all my interviews.
That makes a lot of sense actually. Now that definitely. But so You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, right? But obviously, but what led to? Obviously, I said about textures. So
Mhm.
what led? What happened? Because I mean, you done phenotype,
Yeah,
and you guys were about to do genotype.
yeah.
Um,
Actually, we were already writing. We were like on 60% of writing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's I'd read that you know you'd done a good chunk of the album, and I think you guys were still touring as well as it happened.
in between. Like this was like 2016. We released our
Yeah,
album.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
We did a tour with. I can say the name every damn time, and now I'm forgetting it. Finnish band with an A. Come on.
Nope.
No.
And it's actually eluding me as well, so I wouldn't worry.
Yeah, but I'm really bad with names. I'm such an. It sounds so like not interested, but it's not. It's not that. It's just my brain. It's like
Oh, I
it
understand that completely.
happens. No, but
So so
yeah. So
so what
very,
actually happened with the textures then? So you, as I says, you were touring, you were writing, and
and then we were writing, and but the process was going very very slowly. We had like we noticed we didn't have that much time personally, so we had to really schedule our appointments, writing the music, but it's kept on being a little bit just takes a long time to write this thing. Well, on the other hand, it started to sound a little bit kind of magical, but still it wasn't right there. And then
yeah,
with one meeting when we were together planning our whole stuff for the next year. Actually, it was actually Steph who dropped a little bomb like, "Hey guys, I don't know if I want to go on like this anymore. Life, he had a son, he wanted to be more home, which we all fully understand." And we're like,
yep,
"Yeah,"
yep,
and that was actually the point. Like, okay, so what are we going to do? So the actually the it shifted from, hey, what we're going to do next year. It's like what are we going to do overall, like for everything.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
as we just kept on discussing, we just felt like maybe this is the point. Maybe this is like a good point just to say maybe it's a wrap, and let's
yeah,
see how
yeah,
we're going to do like the rest of the whole process. And eventually, like at first, it was really hard because like nobody wanted to go out like that. On the other hand, we
yeah.
had no hard feelings. We're still very good friends. We're still seeing each other right now.
That's fantastic. I
Yeah,
liked.
that's not,
I did read that. I read that you guys had were all still on really good terms, and I thought that's
actually
good. You know, because a
yeah.
lot of bands, when that happens, you know, there's resentment. But that's
To be fair,
fantastic.
like it's the whole legacy of Textures still is in contact with each other. Like all the members from 2000.
Brilliant.
3, 4 until now. We still are in it like in a group app. We still have
Yeah,
contact. We're still in contact with Eric and with Dennis, the old bass player, and with Richard and
yeah.
Jongh. Like all these guys, they're still in contact. We don't talk that much, but still, we on occasion we also organize barbecues, so we get all the family together. Still happens, yeah.
That's
So
class.
Excellent.
yeah,
Excellent.
and we did like on our last show. We also we did a couple of things where the old members also played uh, parts on the like live. So that was cool.
It's very cool.
Must have been quite emotional, actually. You
Yeah,
know,
really cool.
having everybody that's been there from the
Yeah.
start, you know, on the same
Well,
stage.
if you've seen the DVD, our like the Last Miles to the Moon. Our latest DVD is like with also with Eric on Awake. He sang Awake, like the big hit. Textures actually never surpassed it, and that way it's still the biggest song they wrote. We wrote, they wrote. I wasn't in there, but it still feels like also me. Um,
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that was fantastic to do those things with Eric as well, and he's still a good friend.
That's fantastic.
Really
Really
is,
is.
aye.
Yeah,
Because I mean, as I says, usually find that once a band splits, that's it. They never
yeah,
see each other again.
yeah.
But so that's like you said,
It's a
that's a
rarity.
testament to how good you guys were.
It's a rarity, but
But
it's also that way that it's that pure, that it's that good.
yeah.
Mhm.
But you were saying about how that one song that you could never surpass. For me, the song that sticks out for Textures is Black Horse's Stampede.
Ah,
That for me
when I
is
hear a
one
funny
of
story,
the. Oh, please, please.
it's Eric, the
Right?
old vocalist.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrote that.
Wow.
Because
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
the one who was recording on his phone. He was like, "Oh," I heard the memo from Bart. He's like, "Yeah, you have to listen to this. This is like what Eric really." And he do. It's like so funny, and we worked
So
it
he
out, and
just
was like,
he just hummed it into the dictaphone. Just
"Yeah,
hummed
yeah,
it. That
yeah."
is brilliant.
He hummed the line. He was like, "Wow, this is great line. I need to record it somehow," and he just did like that. Yeah. Yeah, but that's how we
That's
did a
class.
lot of things. Like I also have like a ton of memos, like like
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah.
put it somewhere down because you're just pops up in your head and you want to. It's like, oh wow, that's a great one.
Yep.
Let's
Then you
put it
forget it
somewhere.
later on, and you're like, "Oh, that
Yeah,
would have been so good."
yeah. I've had a million ideas. I just forgot later. I was like, oh my god, how? Like,
Yeah, yep. It's happened to me. But
yeah,
no, because the thing that sticks out on that song for me is the vocals. I honestly think that track, everything about it is just perfect for me. It is
mm,
just it has so many different things going on. It's not just a
yeah,
metal song. It's proper emotion in it as well. There's the level of musicianship in it it is on another level. But the thing that sticks out is that bit at the end that you scream, yeah, you scream, but you're carrying a melody with the scream as well, and
yeah.
that's the first time that I'd ever heard anyone doing that.
Mm,
Obviously, I think, well, Devin Townsend does it, but
oh yeah,
Mike Patton, obviously, Mike Patton can
Eric
do
as
it,
well.
but right. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's the first time I'd ever heard it. That was the song that got me into Textures,
Mm,
and as soon as I heard that, I'd never heard anything like it with any other band.
mm,
And even if I listen to that song now, as soon as it gets to that part, it's just the hairs on the back of the neck go up, and it's good. It's like I'm listening to it for the first time again. Every time
great.
it catches you by surprise. It really does. But
Well, funny
it's
thing is
just
when
beautiful.
the funny thing is like for me, Dualism is the record I joined in the band, and the band came from Silhouettes, which was like a huge hit. Like it was like for me as well because I like that album so damn much because everything on that record just it was there. It was like wow! It just from beginning to the end it was like whoa, such a grand album, and
Yeah, yeah,
that was the album for them to just go from here already to there like that. And I was like,
Uh,
so
yeah, yeah.
felt like that as well. The whole production, the sound, the songs, everything which was on that record was like, wow, grand. And then we they asked me if I could join when Eric left the band. Um, actually, in which he just proposed me to the band, like you have to get him.
Yeah,
I already
yeah.
I already knew Eric for a longer time. We were on the same school, music school, in Tilburg, Rock Academy. And we played previously with other bands together on festivals and shows, so we knew each other. He was in a band called Brain Shake. I was in a band called Smogus, which is more a kind of new metal band. And later on, I joined another band, which is called Salice. It's also kind of texturesque band.
Yep.
So he already knew what my capabilities were. So he pushed me like, "Hey, you gotta ask him." So I came in, they asked me, and then I was like, "All right, let's go." And then, yeah, we have the music, and we can already share some music. And I was like, the first time I was like, "Huh? Wait, what's happening?" Because the record is much slower, more dynamic, more open. The sound is also very much open. And for me, it was like, oh, whoa. For me, it was like a big switch because I was like, what I thought it was gonna be was like, yeah, it's gonna be like a line of what Silhouettes was, like paw paw paw, and
Yeah.
going write more of that, and that wasn't the case at all. It's like we're going to clean slate, a new singer, everything new. So, and I was like, okay, that is yeah, let's adjust a little bit. But
It really worked, though. It really worked.
That kind
yeah,
of
it really did work. The thing was actually with the writing, for me, it was pretty hard. It took a long time for me to really get into it, like in the vocal lines to get them, and like, so searching, writing lyrics, like, oh yeah, because I was going from a band called which is really and everything was crazy and everything, and I was really focused on that, and the lyrics were normally very kind of straightforward, a little bit quirky now and then. But now I had to express myself in a different way, like just try to find elements and like which we do a lot with the bands, like nature and nurture, just those kind of elements which can describe certain life aspects, just to make it bigger, more, and also like ancient Greek mythologies, those kind of stuff. And we really love to implement that because it makes songs even bigger than they already are.
Yeah, it makes them epic.
Yeah, exactly. But that one for me was like an adjustment because I wasn't really used to that, to do those things in the past. Later on, I really got into it, and then the lyrics were just later on.
I think that leads us kind of into our next question in regards to as yourselves as musicians. Do you feel nowadays, say from like 5-10 years ago, do you feel like you have progressed? Do you feel like you are actual better musicians than you were, say, maybe even 2 years ago?
Yeah, like I definitely think we progressed as musicians because you learn along the way what the capabilities are and where the boundaries are, and if there were boundaries, how to cross them. And that's what and we're still doing that, actually, trying to catch different elements or different styles or just another complete musical way of approaching. And with the latest actor, Phenotype, we also did a lot of field recordings for samples. Uri, our synth player, he's a huge fan of just sampling and trying to catch things from nature. So he just went out and from these big metallic machines, he just tried to capture the sound of like, and then just put it in his laptop and just switch it around and make a different sound of it. And then because we also had like a how do you call those things? In Dutch we call it heibaals, like a machine which pushes poles into the ground for housing. Just
pile driver.
Yeah. He also went just to one of the, like, hey, he was in at the central station and he heard the sound. He's like, oh, let's go there. He recorded it, and it is also on the record. You hear it, string, string. You can really hear the banging sound for some songs.
Yeah.
And it just works.
I love that kind of stuff.
That's just crazy.
I love that kind of stuff. That is mad genius.
Yeah.
That really is.
Yeah. So even in that way, we really just grew as musicians, just to try capture elements, just not only playing our instruments, but also just around that. Yeah, so that's how we work.
Brilliant.
Just nuts.
A little bit.
It really is. I mean, see, I do like a mix of stuff like that. Predominantly, I'm a metalhead.
Mhm.
I've done stuff like blues and indie rock, EDM. So
Mhm.
with the EDM, I do a lot of sampling as well.
Mhm.
So that I love that idea, just taking a sound, that you might take for granted every day.
Yeah.
Like you were saying about, he's in the station and he just hears that dove, dove, and it's just like life's natural rhythms, and he's using that. That's that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is just to someone to have that idea on the spot like that. I need to sample it. I need to have that sound.
Yeah.
It's and be able to implement it into a piece of music.
Yeah.
That's that is a real talent.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I'm like from the core. I'm a metalhead, but actually, almost never listen to metal anymore. It's just I listen to so many different kind of music styles, but
Yep.
metal is not really one of them, because it's just when you're creating metal. Yeah, I love to make it just and create it and be all out. But if I want to listen, I just listen to or singers, songwriters, or classical music, or other artists. I've been recently very much into David Maximicic, guy from Destiny Potato. He has his new record is now out. It's out now. Below Four,
Right.
fantastic album. Shout
I'll
out.
have to check that out.
You really have to, because it's like from start to finish, it's a great album. It's like
Yeah.
it starts with small, tiny piano, and he has like Balkan influences, because he is Serbian, and
Right.
vocalists on the record are great, because he also implements like his vocalist from Destiny Potato, Alexandra Jelmic. That's her name. She's fantastic. She's an amazing singer. And the other guy is also the singer. I never heard of the guy, but he's a fantastic vocalist. It's like, whoa, his sound is, whoa, it sounds almost like, sounds a little bit like Devin. And so that's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it really fits. I love that album. So those are
Yeah.
the kinds I like Pliny as well. Like Pliny is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sound, his
It's
diversity.
see that I've loved that about metal these days is that there. It used to annoy me that there was so many subgenres, and trying to keep track of the subgenres is just you've no chance of keeping up with all of them. There's too many subgenres nowadays. But what it has done is given metal the opportunity to not just, like you said, not just be metal, not just listen to metal.
Yeah.
You can have different elements from different styles coming in just to sort of make that one track really sing, rather than just keeping it that straight 4/4 all the way through,
Yeah, that's
chug,
all.
chug, 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 because that gets boring after a while.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's because that's like you trying to create. You're making art. It's not like just a song. It's like if you're
Yeah,
putting your passion into it, everything you have, you want to push into it. And sometimes it works just to write from beginning to end a metal track, and sometimes it just works like just put every influence you can or feel. Like it doesn't really need to be like, all right, now it has to, this part is being, part A has to be like that. No, part B has to be like that. We're just writing, especially with textures. We were always writing like small pieces of music, just chunks,
right,
like
okay.
kind of a puzzle. Like, hey,
Yeah,
this is a
yeah,
great,
yeah,
this is a great, this is a great riff, and this sounds like fantastic, like this, and we're just listening to all those parts. I'm like, hey, geez, and put that hit with this, and then put it together, or maybe just cross it. Like, let's hear how that sounds. So we also
Yeah.
worked like, hey, I recorded with Uri, our synth player, a piece of music on a piece of guitar, and we were absolutely positive that would be the take. Then Bart just decided to take the vocal bit and just push it back 4 bars, and then it became completely different. And we were like, "What? What is this?" And it sounded even more like fantastic. Like, whoa, we never knew that could work, and it worked. So
Yeah.
it's like it's how fantastic how to just play with music.
Yeah, it's recently it's one thing I've been saying is music is the best puzzle. It's just the best puzzle you'll ever have. You know, it's just like you said, throwing riffs and then just piecing them together. It's the best fun. It really is.
Yeah.
Trying to make them all work as one, fluid piece and get the pieces to flow into each other. It's a great puzzle.
It's
It really
like
is.
it's like nowadays you've got bands that are using like Maori, Jamaican styles inside metal, stuff like that.
Yep,
You would
yep.
never,
Alien weaponry.
Ginger. Just wouldn't think like they would fit in metal, but when they do go into metal, it just fits like another piece of the puzzle. It's like you can bring any sort of style in nowadays. Rapping's now predominantly there's a good bit of rapping in metal. There's
Yep,
other
yep.
stuff as well. So it's just really, it's like a kind of algorithm, making sure it's working and it all just fits right straight in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that do comic music from that approach where it's like a mathematics puzzle. That they are just insane geniuses as well. Those guys that can, work with all the extremely weird time signatures and melts my brain. Like my sugar. Those time signatures, trying to count the beats, you've no chance. But it's great to listen to.
Same with Dillinger's Escape Plan. It's
Yeah, yeah.
pure insanity. Funny
It,
thing is,
it really is.
we played with them on our last international show in India.
Yep.
We were headlining, and they were right in front of us. And
Wow.
yeah, so I watched like the whole show from the side stage, and I was like, Christ, man, it's like incredible. Yeah, and we had a
Yeah.
great time afterwards. Fun guys, very very cool, down to earth.
Yeah. Approachable, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think
Because they
that's
always say never meet your heroes, but I mean, it's nice when they are really good guys.
yeah. Well, in the past, I'm thinking about that quite some times because it also has something like the old days, like the '90s, like the bands weren't approachable because no internet. So yeah, you just see
Yeah.
them on the telly and just like, oh, what a gods they are. And you listen on
Yep,
your
yep.
Walkman or and
Yeah.
just put your old kind of headphones on and just playing until the tape just wears out.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, remember?
Levi's too young to remember, but
Yeah.
those were the days.
Oh,
Put a toothpick on the back of your Walkman just to speed it up sometimes because it's
Yep.
we had CD players
Oh,
back in
man.
my days.
faster. Those were the days. There was all possible. Sometimes it just got so slick in the thing you had to try to take it out and
Yeah, yeah.
all time.
Get the wee bits of sellotape and just try and
Yeah.
piece it back together.
But those were also like times where you looked up to a band, and nowadays, like with all the internet things, it's really nice actually to be approachable.
It is. I mean,
Yeah, we're
this
all
would
human.
never be. This would never have been possible back in, when we were in like high school or whatever. You couldn't even dream of this ever happening. Like I'm sitting talking to the vocalist, the textures and trying compass. Come on.
No, you would need to fly. Usually, you would need to fly out
I love
somewhere.
the internet.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's modern
Back in the
technology.
day. Yeah. So yeah, what was the question again?
I think you answered it a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
It was just if you thought you were a better vocalist and a better musician than you were even 2 years ago. Because
Yeah, well, if I look back as a pure as a vocalist, I have been growing like a ton since I was like 20 years ago. Ooh, sounds like I'm a really old guy. But when I started out, actually, when I started out singing, I was 13. So that's even
Right.
longer. It's almost 30 years ago. And
Okay.
when I started out, I was just just trying to pick stuff like every kid and every musician who started out. But later, when I really progressed was when I was at the Rock Academy at school. It's like a professional school for musicians in Holland, in Tilburg.
Yeah.
And I noticed I was just just restraining in the high vocals parts and just like I didn't really do screams back then. Just later on, I did that because it just I put the harsh vocals and everything and try to develop myself. But I eventually, if I look back, I was pretty limited back then. And my teachers really being like, "Hey, you have to try to get there and try to watch your where's your core and where's the
Yeah.
breath
Yeah.
coming from and where's your high notes coming from." So all those techniques I just implemented in my vocals style and singing, and it really
Yeah.
made me better. And it was like now I can absolutely say like those were that was the key point when I changed my kind of style with singing. And then later on, I just went into the band Silis because I really wanted to make metal. And before I was like in a new metal band, which I was in from my 13th. Actually, it was like my first band who blew up in the 2000s. We played a lot here in Holland, and we had like big contracts with like BMG and Sony, Universal. Yeah. So that band was like a childhood dream. It became reality, and it was really my school in being in a band to really grow up together as musicians and try to be better. But my development really came later on when I joined Silis. Became a better singer because my diversity grew, and the first record was actually the only record I recorded was Insane. We just pushed everything on there which was possible.
Yeah.
And
I was funnily enough, I was listening to the Solis album or the Solis EPs rather the other day, and it's a roller coaster. It
yeah,
really is a roller coaster. It was quite unpredictable, actually, but I love that kind of stuff.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I can tell.
In the end, I feel a little bit bad because I probably was the one who was the reason why the band eventually quit, because they really had a hard time that I was leaving them. Because I joined Textures. I was asked to
Yeah.
join. Like, yeah, for me that was like pushing the bar for myself. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
band, like it's a good band, but we're like here, and we were really struggling to get shows and just making money, and we did a lot of shows. We just toured 3.5 months nonstop without any money. Just go through all Europe. We played everywhere. It was actually insanity looking back now, but it was it was cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So eventually,
No.
when I quit the band, it was like they were really having a hard time singing that, and later on they had Ramage,